huge game for you guys coming up on the weekend. Top of the table, Auckland's coming to town. You looking to defend third place on the table. Does Iron Boat Fields into the group, does it feel different ahead of a big game like this?
I think it feels basically down to business as usual, Joey. We know it's a big game. Our next two are big games. We want to be around the top, so you got to beat the teams that are around the top. Obviously, we've done it once with Auckland this year, so yeah, just very much focused on the game. We know that it's going to be a tough game. They're a good team, and they've shown it all year. But also, we beat them 4-0 last time on their patch, so looking forward to this one.
And coming into this game off the back of two draws, in which in both of them you probably feel like you were worth the 3 points, just couldn't secure them. I guess, what have you nailed down on the reasoning why you couldn't grab the 3 points? What do you need to do differently against Auckland to ensure you take them?
I think it just comes down to taking chances, really. I think the more worrying sign is when you're probably sometimes even getting 3 points but not creating that many chances and knowing deep down that you're not really dominating the games. I think the last two games, Central Coast are a good team, especially away from home. They've been good, and MacArthur are another team that, they've got great players. And to dominate them that much, especially away from home, is a massive confidence boost. I think probably in the last couple of years here at Western, if we had played like that away from home, we would have been absolutely buzzing. But I suppose the standards that we've kind of set for ourselves so far this year mean that, that feels like 2 points dropped. And it is 2 points dropped. So, yeah, we got to get back to being ruthless in front of goal and hopefully getting those 3 points.
You're talking about the standards that you've set there this season. Coming into this campaign, you were one of the relatively few senior heads. It was a very young side, and in a situation like that, it probably can be, I guess, easy, not for standards to slip, but just for the young players to not even really know what sort of is expected of them. Have you been able to ensure that yourself and the other veteran leaders have been able to bring these youngsters along and that they know what's expected of them?
Yeah, I think, as a leadership group and also the coaches, we've just tried to set the best standards possible at training every day. So, that starts with the things that are bare minimums, like being punctual, arriving with a good attitude and working hard and taking information on board. But the other side really comes down to the individuals, and I think the young boys have, stepped up massively. I think their attitude's been spot on from day one, and obviously from day one to now, the growth that the group's had has been unbelievable. I think the coaches have done a fantastic job, but also those young boys themselves, you need to give them credit because they've stepped up, and some of these players haven't even played A-League before this season, and they're coming in, and some of the performances they've been putting in, week in, week out, Dylan Leonard's a perfect example, to come into the A-League and then, just step in and find that form straight away. He hasn't looked out of place at all.
Are you ahead of where you thought you'd be coming into this season? Because, it was a young squad, so you never really know what to expect. But you're third on the table at the moment. You've lost, only one of your last 10 games or something like that. Are you further ahead than where you thought this group would be right now?
Look, our last 3 or 4 pre-season games, we played against Auckland, we played Melbourne Victory, and we played Melbourne City twice. And in all 4 of those games, we played really, really well. I had a feeling going into the season that we were going to be really, really strong. I know outside of these 4 walls, no one backed us to be anywhere near the top, and probably smack bang last, to be honest. But I knew that there was something in there. There was something special about the team. The way we kind of started the season was a little bit, you start to ask questions. Maybe, we weren't confident in those games. But I think as soon as we got that one result, which happened to be the Auckland game, from then on, it was just strength to strength. And I think the last 10 games haven't been a fluke. I think you can say 1 or 2 games can be a fluke, but the last 10 games to be so consistent. And, I feel like we're not asking anything more than what the boys are giving each week. All we're saying is to keep doing what we're doing. We know that we don't need to do more than that. We're not expecting people to go out there and have absolute worldies. I think it's just every person doing their role, and we know what our roles are at the moment, and I feel like we're just playing to that every week, and people have been playing fantastically well, and that always helps as well.
You mentioned there a lot of the predictions near your foot of the table. Was that brought up? Did that become bulletin board material for you to take motivation from?
I don't think so with the young boys as much. I think for me, I was really hoping that we just hit the ground running with that same kind of confidence that we had in those last preseason games. But I got injured, so I wasn't involved in those first games. And watching on TV some of the away games, when I was watching in the stands, it felt like there was just that little bit of hesitation or that little bit of, maybe we don't believe that we belong here or that we believe that we can be as good as some of these other teams. But I think once we had that one game, and I've been involved in football a long time, even the season that I was at Melbourne City, we started really poorly. Sometimes it just takes that one game where you say, wow, like this is how we can perform. And I think the boys kind of realised like, wow, like this is against Auckland, who are at the top of the table, have barely conceded a goal, and we've just gone and put four past them at their ground. And I think from that moment, everyone kind of just got this massive lift and this massive belief. And belief is a massive thing, I feel, in football.
And yourself, mate, as you mentioned, you started the season injured, but you've come back. You've been able to start putting some games together. I guess, what was important for you on the way back? How have you been able to sort of hit the ground running, especially since you came back against Perth?
Just trying to do all the right things in rehab, and it's hard because I came back and then played one game and then got injured again, and I was out for another period of time. So yeah, it's frustrating when you feel like you're doing all the right things, and especially being named captain this year, for me it was a big thing to be there with the boys on the pitch. You can lead off the pitch, but I feel like you do the most leading on the pitch, where you can really lead by example and try and push the boys along. And not being able to do that at the start was very difficult for me. But I think the other boys around the senior leaders that were playing, Seba, Gus, Hero, Tomoki, led by example and, got us to this position that once I was able to come back into the team, we were in a really good patch already. So for me, it was really easy to come back in because the boys are playing really, really well, and I've just been able to fall back into that.
And a lot of the talk around Socceroos at West United centred around Noah and maybe Angus as well. But yourself, mate, you look at that left-back position at the Socceroos right now. Geordie Boss is apparently injured and he might miss the window. Aziz Bates is your contemporary in the A-League men, and he's there. And we've seen Tony Popovic, since he came in, he's been tapping A-League veterans who maybe we wouldn't have expected to get a call up when Graham Arnold was still there. Is that something that you're looking at, and that's something that you're hoping that if you can keep this form up, maybe that is a possibility in March or in June?
Yeah, of course. I'd be lying if I would say no, because for me that's been the thing missing in my career. I think there's been moments in my career where my performances have maybe deserved more recognition in terms of the national team. And look, it's not my job to say whether I should be there or not be there, but I certainly believe in my ability. And for me, the only thing that I can control is my performances. So I'm going to keep going and trying to do the same thing as I've done. I'm not going to be trying to do more because there might be a potential of a call-up. For me, I just try to play football every week and play the best that I possibly can. And if I can do that and that lands me in the national team, then that'd be amazing. It would be more than amazing. I'd cut my arm off for it, to be honest. But look, if it happens, then great. If not, I'll keep going about my business the same way that I do, and hopefully we can do something special here with Western.
Does it give yourself and I guess other members of your sort of age cohort, from a morale perspective, a boost when you see Jason Guerrier getting called up, Luke Bratton getting called up, Anthony Caceres getting called up? Mentally, it must give you a boost.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, for me, the best players at that point in time should be in the national team, whether they're playing in the A-League or they're playing at another level. For me, if you're playing and you're playing well and you're in great form, then you're going to have the confidence to go in there, and at that point in time, you'll be the best player for the moment. So I think in the past, there's been a select group that are probably picked more often than not. For me, that was hard because, there were moments where there were other players that were probably doing just as well, if not better, and weren't involved. But as I said, I'm just a player. The coaches, I'm sure, will do their job. I know Popper, Foxy, Paul Ocon, they've been at nearly all the A-League games. So I'm sure they're watching very closely. I'm sure they know who is in good form and who's in contention for that camp. And yeah, I hope that I can put my hand up in the best way possible.
Awesome. I think I've taken plenty of your time already, mate. Appreciate it.
No stress. Thanks, Joey.